This is where we begin in the second hour of News Feed of the PM edition. ActionSA has submitted objections to the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill to Parliament. The Bela Bill is proposing various changes to the laws governing basic education and claims to be strengthening loopholes in the system. Some of the areas set to experience changes including making grade R compulsory, changes to the language policy and laws on homeschooling. To discuss the points of contention from ActionSA, I'm now joined by ActionSA Senator Angela Sobey. Senator Sobey, great to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming on to the show. So let's start off with your objections. Where do you think the loopholes in this bill are?
So for us, the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill, our issues with it relate to the disproportionate powers that it gives to the Ministry of Education in terms of determining, certain aspects around education, including what we believe is that the basic definition of the right to basic education isn't clear in the bill. We feel that the definition should be expanded to include reference to auxiliary factors that impact education, such as transport, infrastructure, qualified educators, and to ensure that schools are properly resourced and that they are places, they actually are places that are conducive to learning. We do not believe that the definition covers that. We have a problem with the issue around compulsory grade R because we do not believe that early childhood development is adequately equipped to support the foundation phase. So when you look at the grade R, making it compulsory, it's important to be able to have a structure in place around grade R. It needs to be clear what that age is that kids should be in grade R.
So your contention is the absence of a structure for grade R, not so much making it compulsory. So if those structures were in place, would you then be happy for it to go ahead?
Well, there are more issues that we have concerns. There are more concerns that we have around the bill. But when it comes to the grade R issue in particular, we feel that the age needs to be clarified, but also the support given to early childhood development. Currently, early childhood development is left to its own devices. There is no clear curriculum, and as it is, our 10-year-old grade 4 learners, according to the Pearls report that was issued in May of 2023, indicates that 8 out of 10 grade 4 learners cannot read for meaning. This is what makes a curriculum in grade R so critical, and this is what makes the expanded support for early childhood development even more important, to ensure that there are those basic foundations put in place and that we're able to build on that children are able to go into grade R with a basic recognition of numeracy and literacy, and when they go into foundation phase, that there's a foundation to build on. But also we want to understand the issue around this. Can the bill be more clear in terms of what that age is and what exactly is intended to address those shortcomings?
Senator Sobey, if you allow me to comment, something that kind of triggered my curiosity is the issue around on sale of alcohol.
Yes.
The school premises.
Yes.
Speak to me about that in your thoughts.
Certainly. So just lastly on the grade R issue, we're wanting to also understand the fiscal implications and the financial trade-offs to that. But with regard to the sale of alcohol, Hugo, we feel that the blanket lifting, as was suggested in the draft of the bill that went up for comment on the department's website, we've got enough problems at our schools. We've got enough issues in our communities, let alone our schools, that schools are the last place that you want a blanket lifting on the sale of alcohol. Our schools are rife with bullying, with gangsterism, with substance abuse and all sorts of challenges. And bringing the sale of alcohol into that space, especially where there are minors involved. There are adults that cannot handle their alcohol. So if you're going to be selling alcohol at a school event, with minor children around and it gets out of hand, how do we handle that? We do not believe that schools are a place for the sale of alcohol.
Just how much consideration has gone into this bill, firstly, and secondly, has there been sufficient engagement of various interested parties, do you think?
We don't believe that there has been sufficient engagement. In fact, we feel that the bill is being used more as a political tool than something to actually address the challenges in education. You do not need a draconian law that seeks to imprison parents for taking a decision to homeschool their children. If you look at the fiasco we experienced as South Africans during COVID, the hard lockdown, the department was found floundering and had no idea what to do in terms of creating a hybrid system or indeed creating a system that supports continued learning during that time. So learning was disrupted. So we just feel that the education system, the politicians need to just step back and guide the laws around education and allow education to be run by administrators and educators. We want the system depoliticized. We want the undue interference of unions in the system to be reined in. We want our educators to be capacitated. We want to reintroduce teacher training colleges. We want foundation phase incorporated into education so that the foundation is there. There is a solid foundation and that it's not treated as something separate and unrelated to this. We want, like I said, we want teacher training colleges brought back. We want teachers retrained. But most importantly, we want the infrastructure addressed, infrastructure issues around education. We cannot, Hugo, every year, it's now become a norm that on the opening day of school, you've got absolute chaos with kids not having been placed at school. There aren't any textbooks and so on. And 30 years into democracy, we're still dealing with issues of learners drowning in pit latrines. That's the most humiliating, kind of death that any child would have to face, as well as learners being washed away in streams because there aren't bridges for them to get to school. The government's responsibility in terms of education is to ensure that education is accessible and that schools are a conducive environment to learning, that children are protected from predators, from bullying, from gangsterism and all of that, and that our educators aren't deployees of political parties, but rather that they are qualified, that they can actually write the exam that they are teaching their learners to prepare for, and that they are qualified to teach the subjects that they are teaching, and that they are fit for purpose placements, that you're not just having educators in a space where they spend half their day in a staff room. The department has a responsibility to deal with the overcrowding in classrooms, the infrastructure. We cannot still be dealing with prefab classrooms. We've got a population register, we've got a birth register that tells you years in advance more or less how many children were born and how many children should be entering the school system.